I've been pregnant. I've had a miscarriage. I've given birth. And I would never force that on anybody, like ever, if they didn't want it. Abortion is one of those things that if you're not a person of reproductive age and you are not dealing with whatever might bring you to having to make that decision, then you're not going to think about it ever,
What do you think is the actual root of removing bodily autonomy from women?
White supremacy and control. Yeah, a lot of white supremacy. A lot of these abortion bans are racist. Like if you look at where they're happening, it's where there's a large population of like people of color, like in the South, right? So it's a lot of racism and white supremacy and control. My dream would be to work myself out of a job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where we don't have to exist anymore because people just are able to get the healthcare that they need.
Hola, hola, welcome back to Café con Pam, the bilingual podcast that celebrates the power of our stories, the medicine in our voices, and the magic of reclaiming who we are. Pull up your cafecito, que este episodio es para ti. Yo soy Pam Covarrubias, your host, y el día de hoy we talk about bodily autonomy and what it actually means to fight for bodily autonomy when the system was never built for you to win. My guest today is Zaena Zamora, the executive director of Frontera Fund, the only abortion fund serving people within 100 miles of the Texas-Mexico border. Lo dije al revés. Texas-Mexico border. She's a Chicana from deep South Texas, born and raised in the Rio Grande Valley. Third generation on her mother's side, multi-generational on her dad's, the kind of woman where the border didn't just cross her family. It shaped everything about how she moves through the world. She joined Frontera Fund just as the matches were being lit. Senate Bill 8, Dobbs, a budget that went from $11,000 to $650,000 and back down again. Laws that made it illegal to help someone to get to a clinic. And through all of it, she has stayed there. She stayed in the valley, she stayed in the fight, and she stayed on the helpline, sometimes until 2 a.m. because someone had to. She also self-identifies as a no sabo girl who gave birth to 2 redheads. If that doesn't tell you everything about how life surprises you, I mean, I don't know what will. So, pull up your cafecito. This one is for the human, the woman, the reina who keeps showing up even when the system keeps making it harder. Let's get into it. Zaena, welcome to Café con Pam.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So the first question we always ask is, what is your heritage?
Oh, my heritage. That's a good one. My heritage is Mexican American. So my grandparents on my mother's side came from Mexico, and my mom was the first generation who was born in the U.S. On my dad's side, his family came from Mexico, but they've been in Texas for multiple generations. And I honestly don't know too much about them, but I want to say it's Mexican American on their side too. So, yeah.
So the border crossed them?
Yes. And then my grandparents my maternal grandparents crossed the border when they were little, like 4 or 5 years old.
So you're third generation on your mom's side.
I don't know how that worked. I'm always like, is my mom first generation or were my grandparents first generation?
Your grandparents
but yeah.
are, no?
Okay, yeah. So then yes, I'm third generation on my mom's side and multi-generational on my dad's.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then your dad is like the border crossed.
Yes. Yeah.
So you grew up in Texas.
Yes. South Texas. Yep.
South Texas. And you're still there.
I'm still here in the Rio Grande Valley, was born and raised here, and I have to make the distinction of South Texas because a lot of people don't know that there's something south of San Antonio. So I'm always like, no, there's more. So yeah, I grew up in deep South Texas, like in a border community, essentially.
Did you cross the border when you were little? Like to go to breakfast and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So living in border communities, it's just like a very common practice to like go get tortas, go get tacos, like growing up. I was just thinking about this earlier today, like going to the club, like in Reynosa, like
Yes.
because the drinking age over there is 18. So they're really lax about that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was a very common thing to do. Still is for a lot of people. Mhm.
So one of the things that you shared in your questionnaire was about the no sabo thing,
Yeah.
no? And so how was it for Zaina to grow up in a border town, having the access to cross back and forth and still
hmm
feel this? Was it a disconnect or what was it?
Yeah, it's still a total disconnect. My Spanish is a lot better now as an adult. I still consider myself a no sabo kid. Like I can't hold a conversation in Spanish, but people can talk to me in Spanish and I can probably respond in English, right? Um, I still get mad at my parents about it to this day, honestly, but I also understand where they were coming from. You know, they grew up in Texas in the 1950s and 60s, and they were horribly discriminated against for speaking Spanish. So, and for them, I think my dad grew up mostly bilingual, but I think his first language was English, but he does speak Spanish. My mom's first language was Spanish. So growing up, they spoke a lot of Spanish in school, and they were like, discriminated against, hit, told not to speak Spanish. So when we were born, um, my parents were like, "You're going to assimilate," and so they didn't speak any Spanish to us growing up. And I had Spanish speaking grandparents on my mother's side, so there was that disconnect, like not being able to communicate with my own grandparents. And but I was still really exposed to Spanish, so I'm not as no savo
You
as
have the
probably
ear.
yeah, like I'm probably not as monolingual as other people might be, but just because like you live in a border community, you hear it all the time. Like you can live your whole life in a border community and not speak a word of English, and you would be just fine, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, but there is for me a huge disconnect with not being able to speak Spanish.
Have you reconciled that part of you?
No. And I still have the big disconnect too because I have children now and they also don't speak Spanish because I don't speak Spanish, right? So I wasn't able to pass that on to them.
How old are your kids?
They're 22 and 14.
Oh my gosh, I thought
I
they were like
know.
toddlers.
No, one of them's an adult, a full-fledged adult, and the other one's in high school. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna be like 6 and 8 or something like that.
No. Yeah.
Well, you cannot what have you learned as a family?
Oh, there's so much. We're very family oriented. Like me and my family still live really close to each other. Like my sisters live like 10, 15 minutes away. My parents still live in the family home I grew up in. So we all still live in the valley and we all are still here. So we still hang out all the time and yeah, we're very much in each other's lives.
And also you signed up for piano classes as
I
an
did.
adult,
Yes.
which tells me that you're open to learning,
Yes, I love to learn. Yeah.
and so you can always, learn Espanol, pero
Yes,
at the same
and
time,
I'm
it's like
practicing, but it's
you
very
need it.
hard. Yes, it's very hard to learn as an adult, and I do listen to Spanish podcasts. I try to listen to, there's a Spanish podcast I listen, Dreaming in Spanish, which is kind of like
Mhm.
intermediate level, like slow speaking Spanish, and I'll watch Spanish TV, listen to Spanish music, so I try to inundate myself in the language, but it's still hard to pick up.
Well, and I think I'm catching even myself, like, asking these questions and then there's the thought of like, well, Spanish is also a colonized language, like, do you
Exactly.
even need it, right?
I
Like,
know, I know. That's a whole other conversation, right, to have. It's like, well, Spanish is not the language of Mexico either, and yeah, so mhm.
totally. So, walk us through your upbringing in South Texas, because I think Texas is a whole country, like, every time I've gone to Texas, I'm like, you take
To
airplanes.
get into
I
Texas.
mean, I live in California, which is, like, similar, no? But,
Yeah, yeah,
like, if you wanna go to Dallas from San Antonio, it's like a whole
yeah.
plane.
For us, it's like 8-hour drive, so it would be a plane ride. Um, Growing up in South Texas was really interesting. Is it was very much a little bubble because my community is like 90+% Hispanic, right? So
Wow.
I grew up very insulated in, growing up with people who looked exactly like me. They had very like some similar family dynamics, like
Mm.
so it was very beautiful in that sense that like a lot of the cultures were the same, a lot of the practices we did were the same. Like a lot of us like were getting our communion at the same time or doing like cascarones for Easter, which I didn't even realize was a Mexican thing or Texas thing until I was an adult. So and I grew up with a really big family. Like my mom's family was from the valley, and so we she had 12 brothers and sisters. And then
Wow.
all of her brothers and sisters have kids, and a lot of them stayed in the valley. So I grew up with like a ton of cousins. I had two sisters growing up, so it was just a bunch of me and a bunch of girls. So it was a lot of fun. And it was the 80s and 90s. So I grew up without internet and, like no computers, no cell phones.
Yeah.
So it
You
was
grew
a
up
very,
outside.
I did grow up outside, like
We're the last generation that actually played with the
literally,
blocks and
yeah, yeah. So it was fun. I mean, it wasn't like hunky dory all of the time. We were
Mm.
like a lower income family. I would say like lower middle class. So we had some issues like finance issues growing up and stuff like that. But my parents were very. It's very interesting because my my dad was very adamant like all of you girls are going to get an education, all of you are going to be independent and take care of yourselves. So that was always like drilled into me since childhood, like you're going to like finishing high school wasn't even an option. It was like, no, you're going to finish college and you're going to get a job and you're going to be able to take care of yourself and all of those things. So yeah.
did they?
No. No, they didn't finish college. Yeah, they did some, but they got married and dropped out and started their family.
What number are you?
I'm number 2, I'm the middle child.
Oh, you're middle
Yes.
child.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
There's a special place for middle children.
I know.
Which is interesting because you mentioned that you were the quiet one.
Yeah, I think I still am for the most part, but yeah, I was the quiet one growing up. My sisters are very much more outspoken than I was, so I guess that's why I kind of just, like, faded into the background, so it's, like, kind of a perfect place as a more quiet child to be, right? So,
Mm.
yeah.
'Cause I think either the middle children are, like, the rebels, troublemakers,
Mhm.
or in your case, you retrieved.
Yeah, that's what I did. Although I think my sisters would still call me the rebel one, but not in the troublemaker sense, more in like the
Mm,
defining convention, like getting the colored hair and being all punk rock or, like things like that. But
okay.
in terms of getting in trouble, like that wasn't my style, I guess, growing up. Yeah.
So, your rebellion came from, like, your interests more so than your personality in a way?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Was there a moment that you remember when you were like, "Ooh, I better just not do what she did because she got in trouble?"
Um, I'm sure, like speaking back to my parents, like being like, oh, my parents are getting really mad. She got grounded. So I'm just not going to say anything, just, yeah. I was very like quiet and I never spoke back. I never like talked back to my parents and my sisters would. And I wish I did because I have that trouble now as an adult, like asserting my own authority and like speaking up for
Mm.
myself. And my sisters were very much like, talking back to my parents. And I've taught my children to talk back to me, like in a sense, like not disrespectfully, but in a way
Like, to
that
challenge you?
to challenge me to be like, if what I'm saying is unfair or whatever, like please, please have that conversation with me. I don't want you to feel like I'm just talking at you and you don't have the ability to question me. Right. So
Do they?
no, my kids do. Yeah. And they do. Yeah.
Do you think as you are teaching your children to, like, challenge, question fairness, et
Hmm.
cetera, you're also healing a part of you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Have you noticed that after, like, maybe they negotiate, like, do they negotiate with you? I feel like children of millennials are, like, so aware
They
in
are
so
so
many
aware.
ways.
Me and my sisters talk about this all the time. Well, just like they're so interesting because I feel like sometimes we flew too close to the sun because they really like us. Like my kids love to be at home. They love hanging out with. I mean, they're not like all up on me all the time, right? But like I never wanted to be around my parents growing up, like
I
never. I never
know.
wanted to hang out with the family. I was like, no, I'm going to go do my own things. And they're like, oh, are we doing this together? What are we doing for dinner? Like, it's very interesting. But yeah, I think it's good for me to see them be able to do that because that was something I wasn't able to or
Mm.
didn't have the fortitude to do growing up.
Where do they get the fortitude?
I think for my husband and for me, like just having these open conversations and um, being able just to talk to each other and just practice honestly, like just telling, like reiterating all the time, like we're here for you. You can talk to us. You can tell us anything. We might not be happy about it, but like let's have these conversations and
Mm.
yeah,
Which I think it makes a difference in how we grew up, which was this like authoritarian,
yeah,
like parents are always right type thing,
yes, yeah, yeah, very
And this is
much.
why probably we didn't want to be home
I know.
because like we have a dictator there.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so, what do you think shifted in you? Like, what shifted? What has was the shift in millennials? I think to make it a generality or parenting.
I don't know. Maybe what we were told and what we witnessed in the world. I don't know. Like I think about like all the stuff that I have seen as an elder. I'm literally like at that Gen X elder millennial cusp because I was born in 81.
Oh, you're a Gen X, yeah.
Yeah, like so very elder millennial baby Gen X. So,
Mhm.
we saw a lot of messed up stuff growing up and we still witnessing it, right? So, I don't know, I think just having that experience, being told like go to college, you can get
Mm,
your degree and get a good job and we're seeing that all fall apart in front of our eyes and I don't know, it seems like there's more important things to worry about sometimes.
totally.
Mhm.
What made you stay in Texas?
My family, I love Texas actually. I know people are like really hater on Texas sometimes because of our politics, which I agree. Like we have some really horrible politics here, but this is my home. Like my family's been here for generations and um I love it here. I love Texas. I love the valley too. The Rio Grande Valley is great.
Texas is a whole like truly when I say I've said this before many times, it's a whole country,
Mhm.
truly.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's microcultures, there's
Yeah, like even from between San Antonio and the Rio Grande Valley, like the valley is totally different than San Antonio, and San
yeah,
Antonio is
yeah.
totally different from Austin, and Austin's different from Houston, and Houston's different from Dallas and El Paso. Like it's all very bunch of little microcultures. It's like you said, like our own little country.
I know. It's like fascinating. So let's shift quickly into your work.
Yeah.
So you started as a board member
Yes.
for
Yeah.
Frontera, no?
Mhm.
And you decided to become well, you didn't decide, but you joined as the executive director in 2021,
Mhm.
and the house was on fire at
Yes.
the
It wasn't.
time.
It was about to be lit up. It wasn't
Yeah,
technically on
the
fire. Well,
matches were being lit.
yes, the matches were being lit, the smoke was starting to form, but yeah, it was, I joined right before the infamous Senate Bill 8 was introduced in the Texas State Legislature, and, it was passed that same year. So, yeah, I joined as a staff member at a very tumultuous time, and it's been tumultuous ever since, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, mhm,
So there were like so many things that we can talk about, but what I find interesting about your journey is that typically EDs were like on the ground activists, but you
mhm,
came from the board front and you were
yeah.
in the finance.
Yes. So I was doing a little bit of everything because when I started the organization, it was all just board members. There was no staff. So we were a volunteer board. So we were the ones like taking the helpline calls and, navigating everything for people who needed abortion care. And just to
Mm.
kind of reiterate, like the organization I'm talking about is Frontera Fund. We're an abortion fund that works in the Rio Grande Valley and in border communities in Texas, and we help provide financial support and practical support for people in border communities in Texas seeking abortion care. So when I first started in the board, I was doing a lot of the finance, but I was also taking like a lot of the phone calls, and I was teaching at a university at the time. So during my office hours, I would literally get on our helpline and be like helping people navigate to get their abortion care, like in the Valley and in Texas.
Why the cost? Is there a personal connection to abortion care?
Not necessarily. Like I haven't had an abortion. I did get pregnant pretty young. And at that time I did have the choice of like, do you want to keep the pregnancy or do you want to end the pregnancy? I decided to keep my pregnancy. But for me anyways, the having that bodily autonomy and being able to decide what is best for yourself is incredibly important. I was very fortunate at the time when I got pregnant, even though I was only like 21 at the time. I was on my way out of school. I really liked the person I got pregnant with. He's my now husband, right? Like I was in a decent situation where I felt like I could handle a pregnancy and motherhood at the time, right? I don't know if I could have made that same choice if my situations were different. So, and I don't think there's anything wrong with making that choice, even if it's just like, I don't want to be pregnant, like whatever
Mm.
your reason is, like, that's fine. Like, I think you should have the ability to have whatever type of pregnancy or not being pregnant that you want. So,
Because Texas is quite conservative.
yeah, in a sense. We're also very gerrymandered and there's a lot of voter
Mm.
suppression. So I think there's a lot of ways that we don't own our own narrative in Texas because our narrative
Mhm.
is told for us, especially in border communities. Like when people hear we're from the valley, they assume a lot of things because we're a border community. Like it's very violent down here. There's a lot of drug cartels, you know, things kind of like that. And it's honestly super safe down here. I've never had any issues with like violence or anything like that. And I've grown up here my entire life. Not to say it doesn't exist because it does. This type of violence exists everywhere in this country. But like if you look at just statistically, our violent crimes is very low in the Rio Grande Valley. So, but yeah, but yes, Texas, its legislative makeup and the way we vote tends to lean towards the conservative side. So you're right there.
But it's not quite represented. That's what you're
No.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so in an organization like Frontera, how do you like make those two truths coexist?
Um, I think for Frontera Fund, anyways, I've been pleasantly surprised by how welcoming people are for the work that we do. Like, I also had this kind of view of the valley because, we're very like overwhelmingly Catholic, very conservative,
Mhm.
like things like that. Um,
Mhm.
but they show up like all the time to support the work that we do. We had one of my one of the wins, the few wins we've had in this work in Texas, especially in South Texas. Um, there was a city ordinance that was trying to be passed at a local city here in the Rio Grande Valley, Edinburgh, Texas, and it was an ordinance. Essentially, we call it an anti-abortion ordinance. It was like a sanctuary city for the unborn. That's where how people recognize it easily.
Okay.
And so we did a lot of organizing to like bring this a lot of attention and to tell the community like, look at what Edinburgh is trying to do. They're trying to
Mm.
pass like this anti-abortion ordinance, and the community showed up in record numbers. We had the city hall there, like we packed city hall, and it was overwhelmingly against the ordinance. So, and if you were to ask anybody to be like, oh, it would probably pass in the valley. And that's probably why they tried to shop it down here because the people who were trying to pass it were not even from the valley. They were like a pro life organization from North Texas, So it was very much that.
Why do they go to the valley to down there?
I think because they think we would pass it, right? Because they have the
Ah,
same view of us, right? It's very much I always think of the Mean Girls thing, like, she doesn't even go here, like, it was very much like
ah,
that. And so, um, in the end, the ordinance, like, none of the city council members, who are all men, by the way,
of course,
surprising, um,
usually.
none of them wanted to touch it. And it was, if I wasn't so mad at them, I'd be embarrassed for them. But you know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean when I say, like, people show up for our cause. And I think we recognize that, like, as a community, as people of color in a militarized border zone, like, we need to take control of our lives where we can, because there's so much of it that's out of our control. And that they try to, like, inundate us with, like, militarization and surveillance and things like that. So,
So to give people some context,
hmm,
I'm gonna name the like what happened
okay,
in Texas, like in chronological order. So you joined
buckle up.
in 2021. Yeah.
Yes. Hmm.
So SB 8 is the law that started kind of like the mess, no?
Hmm.
So this is SB 8 was banned virtually all abortions after 6 weeks.
Yes.
And then it enhanced enforcement to private citizens,
Yeah.
meaning any individual could sue anyone who, quote, aided and abetted. Is that how you say it? So
Yes.
basically, anyone who helped the
Hmm.
abortion, whether you drove her, whether you talked to her on the phone, like you could be sued by anybody
Anybody. Yep.
at a minimum of $10,000.
Yes.
And the challenge here is that the majority of people don't know they're pregnant at 6 weeks,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
cutoff was 6 weeks.
Hmm.
An estimated 85% of abortions in Texas occurred after the 6 week mark,
Hmm.
meaning most of the people that were assessed were immediately cut off from
Yeah.
abortion because they were past that. So at this point, Frontera Fund, you're part of the Frontera Fund. Are you a AD yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The house is officially on fire. So,
Yes.
we're screaming from the rooftops. Frontera Fund is not the only abortion fund in Texas. At the time, there was about 10 of us working in
Okay.
Texas at the time. So, and we're all in cahoots with each other. And we're all trying to scream from the rooftops, like, this is happening in Texas. It's bad. We need to do something about it. Like, and no, I don't think anybody really thought it was going to, maybe they thought it was going to pass, but I don't think people thought it was going to survive a challenge, like
Mm.
a legal challenge. You know what I mean? Like, oh, the Supreme Court's going to strike it down. This is clearly unconstitutional, and we were really scared that it wasn't gonna it was going to survive a legal challenge, right? And we were trying to not only figure out, like, how are we going to challenge this law legally, but how are we also going to shift our entire program to now, as you said, that 85%, moving our 85% of our clients and getting them care somewhere else, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah.
So then, because that wasn't the only fire.
No.
Dobbs,
Yes.
2022.
Yes.
Dobbs versus Jackson. So Jackson's Women's Health Organization was a 6-3 Supreme Court ruling that held the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion,
Yeah.
which overturned Roe versus Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey.
Yeah.
And it returned abortion regulation entirely to individual states. So that's like, we all remember this. We all
Yes.
cried about it.
Yes. Lots of crying.
Yes.
I think I've cried at this job more than any other job I've had in my
I believe you.
life.
I believe you.
Yeah.
So for Texas, when this happened, the trigger ban happened.
Yes.
So this is a law that was already on the books that
Mhm.
automatically went into the effect, which what happened is that it criminalized abortion with only a narrow exception
Yeah.
for situations in which the life or health of the patient is at risk, which the exception has been proven to be pretty much impossible to use because
Yes.
doctors don't know,
Yeah.
on which side of the
Mhm.
line they are. So they
Mhm.
wait, and many times people die.
Yes. Or get injured or lose the ability to have children or, deal with a lot of medical trauma. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So now the house is even more on fire.
Hmm.
What do you do?
We take a little bit, well, so we were having these conversations about Dobbs, like for a while. And then I remember telling my board, we need to figure out what we're going to do when Roe falls because they'll probably ban abortion completely and we won't be able to fund anybody like probably in 2023. And then the leak happened. I know we didn't mention it in this
Mm,
timeline, but there was a SCOTUS leak where they leaked the opinion of the Dobbs case. So we had a little bit of a head start. And then we got notice from our legal team that we'll probably have to stop funding altogether. And so
mm.
we, Roe falls, we pause our helpline. I will say though, until that day that Roe fell, we were up like till 1, 2 in the morning helping people get their abortion care because we knew like the next day, it was a Friday,
You had a deadline.
we had a deadline.
Oh my god.
So we were like trying to get people the care that they need because we knew like as soon as Roe falls that we would be under a lot of scrutiny or like possibly face legal challenges from bad actors of the state. And so we had to like stop funding. And so yeah, next day happens. It's a Friday. I don't remember the exact date, but Roe falls. We start crying. I go to a protest march that night. More crying, and we kind of just take about a month off to
Mm.
regroup and figure out what we're going to do. And then we start looking at legal strategies to try to at least be able to fund again, if not be able to bring abortion back in Texas, to be able to continue to help people get out of Texas to get their care.
Yes, so the leak happened, and that put Frontera Fund and, like, I'm sure your team to get kinda um, like you said, like, the in a heads up in a way.
Hmm.
And so you decide to do the voicemail
Yes.
in English and Spanish
Yeah.
to decline service. Is that what it is?
Yeah, so we change our voicemail literally the next day and telling people because of this law. And in English and Spanish, our helpline is bilingual, letting them people know like we're unable to help. And it's the worst thing in the world knowing you have the funds and the means to help, but you legally can't because you're worried about, the legal risks involved in helping. So it was very difficult it's still difficult to be able to have to tell people like we don't have the funds because of, budget constraints or whatever. But at that time, especially when people needed the help, it was really hard.
How did you decide? Was it more like the legal advice of, like, "This is what we need to do," or
Yeah, it was a lot of legal advice and working together with the other Texas funds to figure out like cohesively as a group how are we going to move through this. So yeah, it was a lot of meetings. A lot of meetings with lawyers, a lot of meetings with other funds and other organizations that were kind of keeping an eye on all of these things and figuring out like how are we going to navigate this together.
how do you cope with it?
Uh taking breaks. It was, I don't know, I ate a lot of chocolates and cried a lot and leaned a lot on my community to and my family and friends to support me. So
It's the only way, no?
yeah, like literally there was nothing else to do. I remember my friend calling me that day, like she was calling me like as though somebody in my family had died. She's like, I'm just calling to check up
Oh,
on you. And I
I
just like
mean,
broke down crying, like I
yeah.
know it's so horrible. And it was really awful. So but I was really fortunate that I had the other abortion funds in Texas to lean on, and we had already trauma bonded over SB8.
Mm.
So it was kind of like, hey, we're doing this again together.
Here
So
we go.
yes, literally. Yeah.
So then you get your $11,000 budget to 650,000 budget
Mhm.
to back down because Frontera Fund, you had a smaller budget that ballooned from individual donations after Dobbs.
Yeah.
So because people were outraged, they were like, let me just give you some of my coins. And so you went from having a moderate, like, I would say like a small budget to like, okay, we can now help from $8 per day to $30 a month,
Mhm. Yeah.
probably more, no? So
Yeah.
how did you deal with that growth and then like kind of like an expansion, then contraction again?
Yeah. Um, I was very cautious in how we grew. Like I saw the funds coming in, and obviously, but in terms of team growth and how we grew in that way was as very conservative in that sense. Like I don't want to use this money and grow too fast because um, I don't know where this is going to go, right? I don't know if like the laws are going to get worse and we're going to have to just dissolve and move all these funds everywhere and then people are going to lose their jobs and so I was really scared to grow too fast. But we did do some growth and we were able to a lot of the growth where we did of course was in our budget and being able to just help more people and being able to increase our direct services budget. And also at the same time, because we had that period of time where we were unable to fund abortion care, we talked to other community partners in the Rio Grande Valley to figure out, like, okay, we can't do this right now, but what is something that we can do in the meantime,
Mm.
right? So we partnered with Planned Parenthood South Texas, which is like an affiliate of Planned Parenthood. Um, they have clinics here in San Antonio and in the Valley in Harlingen and Brownsville. So we developed a relationship with them. And so we started funding reproductive health care that is like non abortion related. So, like STI testing, pap smears, cancer screening. So, like things that our community like was in dire need at that time anyways. So we were like, we have the money, we have the funds to do this and to support our community. So we will do this in the meantime while we wait for the legal process to happen and to go through so that we can go back to funding abortions. So now we do both. So now we fund reproductive health care and we fund abortion care for Texans.
So when you say you were conservative, like as you got the funds and you saw the money coming in
Hmm.
and you decided to be conservative as far as like the growth,
Hmm.
was that an intuitive nudge or a practical approach?
I think it was both. I was just a little bit scared because of like in the legal sense. I was like, I don't know what other BS are going to kind of pull down from the pike. Like, I don't know how this is going to go or what the legal challenges are going to do or say and how we're going to be able to even function as an organization. If we can't fund abortion, then what are we doing? Right. So,
Mhm.
um, so it was both like practical and kind of like I just don't want to. I don't want to grow too fast. Like we're there's not much we can do anyways right now, so let's just do what we can with what the people that we have. And we did do like other things like bring on consultants to help us with like other stuff, but in terms of like full-time members of the team, it was just two of us for like the longest time.
Did you ever doubt that decision? Like maybe we could have grown more?
Um, Sometimes, but honestly, I'm really happy. And I will say, I did try to grow, but every time we did try to hire somebody, something would happen, and we'd be like, "Wait, we can't hire this person right now because, like, we tried to hire a helpline person like 3 times, right? But we couldn't because every time we did, something tragic would happen, like Senate Bill 8, or then the Dobbs decision. So I was like, okay, so now I can't hire anybody because they don't have a job to do, right? Like, we're not funding right now,
Oh,
so yeah. So it wasn't that I didn't try. I did try
yeah.
sometimes, but it was like life kept happening and it was like, okay, JK. So for the longest time, me and my team were like, I think this position is cursed because every time we try to hire, something happens. But no, we have a helpline person now. She's great and I'm super happy we hired her. And it's not cursed. It was just, really bad circumstances.
Or do you think it just wasn't the time and you kept getting just redirected to like, this is
Maybe,
not the
I don't
time?
know, but we have one now and she's great. So it
That's
worked out.
awesome.
Hmm.
Okay, let's take a quick coffee break.
Okay.
Sabrosura pa' ti que.
Zaina, do you drink coffee?
I don't.
You don't?
No, I
Tell
don't.
me
And
everything.
I grew up with such a coffee drinker. My mom is such a huge coffee drinker, and I married such a huge coffee drinker, and I don't drink coffee.
Never have.
Not really. Like, I'll drink like the sweet coffee type drinks, like mochas and stuff like that, because I'm like a chocolate fiend. But um, it also gives me really bad anxiety, so I'll do like
Okay.
a decaf mocha. Super happy with that. Yeah.
So when you say you grew up with like your mom was a coffee drinker, did she give you
hmm
coffee and you didn't like it?
I don't remember her giving me coffee, but I had a cousin who's like literally my age. She's 2 weeks older than I am, and she was drinking coffee like at 5 years old, like with a little cafecito, like the cup
Right.
and everything. Yeah. So,
Not you though.
not me. Yeah. I don't think I ever really liked it.
Do you have a morning ritual?
I don't, well, I kind of do the same things every morning, and I don't think I would consider it a ritual. It's just like my routine. I wake up and I work out. That's usually what I do. Yeah.
But you don't have like a drink of choice
Mm-mm.
that you
No,
always
just water. Like I get my water bottle ready and then I go to my garage and work out, and that's what I do. Yeah.
I mean, maybe it
hmm
is a morning ritual.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of lame. I don't do I don't have like the 3 drinks or, all the
You don't have your emotional support drinks?
you know what? I do I will say I love a good sweet tea. Maybe it's like the South coming
That is
out.
a very South thing,
Yeah,
yes.
but I'm like, "Oh, sweet tea. I love sweet tea."
Do you make your own
So,
sweet tea?
my son does. He
Oh,
learned how to make it, so now he just does it. So he
that's
makes
his
really
thing?
good sweet tea. Yeah, he likes to make it. He's like, "Should I make tea?" I'm like, "Yes, always make tea." But yeah, yeah.
There's the sweet tea as sweet tea, no? Like, I don't think every sweet tea is created equal.
No, I mean some of it is like they'll do the mix, which I'm like, it's good, but it's for me it's like the brewed with the like ton of
Mhm.
sugar and some lemon juice. It's so good on ice. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been to
hmm
several parts in the South, and every sweet tea that I've tried is so different, and I'm like, this is like coffee, like
Yes, it's so good. Yeah,
yeah,
I love it. Yeah.
that's fun.
So that will be like that's my caffeine. It's like a sweet tea. Yeah.
That is definitely your caffeine. Well, on my end, we are recording this interview at a point where I'm past coffee time. So,
Yeah.
I'm drinking my afternoon tea, but I put it
hmm
in my water bottle because I don't know. I guess I just consume a lot of liquids, like 1 cup of tea is not enough, so I just make
Yeah.
a
I like
mug, like,
yeah,
a
like a
pot.
batch. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just
hmm
pour it, like, the whole thing in my water bottle, and then it's great because it lasts longer.
It does,
Mhm.
and it stays warm. I like ginger tea a lot, so I'll drink
Ginger tea is
ginger
great.
tea. Yeah. So with like a lot of lemon. Yeah.
Mm, it's so good for you.
It is. And then my parents have a valley lemon tree, or they call them, I
Ooh,
think it's a Meyer lemon. I'm not sure. I think it's a Meyer lemon. So they have Meyer lemons or we call them valley lemons. And they're like kind of these big lemons that are like almost like oranges, but they're lemons.
nice. But they're lemons?
And yeah, they're not as sour as like a typical yellow lemon is. And it's just so good with the ginger tea. So
Nice.
I'll like squeeze a bunch of it and put it into ice cubes because it comes into they fruit like in the winter time. So I'll just make my tea and throw a lemon juice ice in it. Yeah.
Nice.
hmm
That's awesome. Yeah, the challenge with me and Brim putting my tea in my water bottle is that I mean, he doesn't do it anymore, but David, my partner, he he did it a couple times and then he learned his lesson. Like, he'd be like, "Oh, give me some water." And he'd be like, "Oh, 1, it's hot.
Yes.
2, it's not water. Like, what are you
No.
drinking?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"It's my tea. Not
That
my
happened to
water."
my child. We were driving one day and I had an iced ginger tea with a lot of lemon, and they saw it and they were like, "Oh, can I have some?" And I was like, "Sure, but it's ginger tea." And they drank it and they're like, "Why is it spicy?" And I was like, "Yeah,
What is
it is."
it?
Yes, because ginger tea is a kind of like a spicy tea, right? So
Yes,
yeah,
I
yeah.
know. Be
But
careful,
it looks
people.
appetizing because it looks
I'm
like
sure.
lemonade. Yeah.
I'm
So
sure it looked delicious. That's funny. All right, let's get back to the show. Here's the thing. Latina families have been saving money forever. From reusing plastic containers for comida, folding up plastic bags under the sink, and diluting dish soap with water. The last thing we need is to pay fees to access our money, right? Pues, in case you didn't know, BMO customers have access to 40,000 fee-free ATMs across the United States. Plus, their BMO Smart Advantage checking account has no monthly maintenance fee. Learn more about how BMO can help by visiting bmo.com/checking. bmo.com/checking. Conditions apply. Accounts provided in the United States by BMO Bank, NA, member FDIC. Do you ever feel like money's supposed to make you feel free, but instead it just makes you feel like a fraud? Like, you should already know this stuff. Investing, retirement, debt. But you're still Googling, what's a Roth IRA, like it's a secret society? Let me unmute that real quick. Savvy Ladies is a nonprofit that gets it, and they're not here to shame you. They're here to support you. They've got a completely free financial helpline where real humans, real experts give you answers without judgment. Whether you're navigating money wounds, dreaming of building wealth, or just trying to make sense of your paycheck, this is your safe space. No sales pitch, no confusing jargon, just real talk, real help, for free. Because financial confidence isn't just about numbers. It's about knowing you're not alone anymore. Head over to savvyladies.org to learn more. That is SAVVYLADIES.org. So, Zaena, we are now in 2026, but there's been more.
Yes.
That's
Literally,
happened.
like, I think a couple of days ago with the mifepristone ruling. Yeah.
Oh, I don't have that, but I have
Okay.
2025 stuff. So,
Okay.
HB7,
Mm-hmm.
September 2025, prohibits anyone from manufacturing, distributing, mailing, providing abortion-inducing medication in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
This was enforced through private civil lawsuits.
Yeah.
Includes, like, basically medication abortion was one of the remaining workarounds and now became
Mm-hmm.
actively targeted.
Yeah.
So what does Frontera Fund do?
So we weren't paying for a medication abortion that was being shipped into Texas. So the people that we help, they're leaving the state. So they go to neighboring states like New Mexico, Colorado, and we help pay for like the appointment itself, flights, hotel stays, and bus rides. So because of the laws in Texas, we're kind of handcuffed to what we can do. And like,
Yeah.
I wish we could be like, yeah, go get your medication and we'll pay for it and you have it shipped over here. But because of Texas laws, we can't do that, right? But a lot of people were doing that, like Texans themselves were doing that anyways, because a lot of states like California and Massachusetts have shield laws that protect providers that allow them to do telehealth medicine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're able to ship the medication into the state. So that was a way people were kind of working around those abortion bans, right? And then another way, and this is just border culture. Did you grow up in a border?
I grew up in Mexico City, but I live in
Ah,
I'm in San Diego now, which is a border town.
okay. So you probably know and have seen that people who live in border communities, they go to Mexico for healthcare.
Yeah.
It's just a part of the culture, and Mexico healthcare is cheap and affordable and great, right?
Yep.
And so um, it was the same thing for abortion care. So you can get medication abortion. Like one of the pills that you can get is available over the counter at a lot of Mexican pharmacies. And even before Senate Bill 8, before Dobbs, abortion is really expensive. Like in Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley, again, we're like a low income area. It was $800 to get an abortion, starting price.
Wow.
Exactly. And then, so it was like, oh, $800, go to the clinic or cross the border, buy the pills for $50 and just
Mm.
do it at home. Right. So a lot of people have been self-managing their abortions for years that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, so yeah, so HB7 was just, it's kind of, I don't want to call it a paper tiger because it is a serious threat, but it's not something that's easily enforced. And because these states have shield laws, it really was a mechanism to try to test the robustness of those state laws, right? Of those shield laws for other states. So that's what's concerning about laws like HB7, because it's like they know they can't really enforce it, but they can use it as a mechanism to try to challenge those shield laws.
I wonder, like, As we're having this conversation, I can't help but think like the fact that Frontera Fund has to exist.
Exactly. Yeah. I always talk about that. Like my dream would to be to work myself out of a job. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like where I don't have to, we don't have to exist anymore because people just are able to get the healthcare that they need and don't have to worry about like how much it is or traveling because there are so many barriers to accessing healthcare and accessing abortion care is just it's astronomical. Like if you look at a map, one, Texas is huge. You're from California, you know how huge California is, and Texas is even bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
I live in the border, like on the very tip of Texas. So to leave the state is a journey, right? We don't have a huge airport. So it's like if you fly, you have to fly to like Dallas or Houston, then you have to fly out to whatever city you're going to. So it's two flights, right? This is also not something you're planning months in advance. So you're doing
Right.
like, oh, I have an appointment next week. I have to find a way to get to Albuquerque in a couple of days, right? So like Google a flight to Albuquerque, like, oh, we're leaving tomorrow from McAllen, Texas. How much is that going to cost? Like $600, $800, right? And then the appointment itself, and then to stay the night, or if you're driving, the drive. Imagine driving right now. It's 14. I know in California that your gas prices are way more expensive,
Yeah.
but I live in Texas, and usually our gas prices are a lot cheaper. And right now, it's like $4.19 a gallon, which I
Oh,
know
we're
is
at
like for
6.
California is like oh my god, but for Texas,
I
it's like oh
wish
my
we were
god.
at 4.
I know, yeah, but for us in Texas, we're not used to these prices, so um, it's very difficult to leave, you know? And then we're not even talking about people who are like minors or like young people who are undocumented. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't know in the southern border, there are internal checkpoints where, like, up to 100 miles north of the actual Texas Mexico or US
Mhm.
Mexico border, there is like border patrol who stop every vehicle and ask you questions about your immigration status or your citizenship status. So if you're undocumented and living in a community like the Valley, you have to pass those checkpoints to leave. And people don't because
There's
they're
so
afraid of,
many of them.
there's so many. Like, I can't leave my community without passing through one. And I thought it was normal growing up, like, oh yeah, you have checkpoints. And then I realized like later on, I was like, oh no, this is a southern border thing. You know, like
Right.
this isn't normal. People don't have to drive through checkpoints and nobody asks them if they're a US citizen, right? So,
I know. It's kind of wild to think about. Which you talked about the undocumented people, which I wanted to bring up because in June, as of June 2024, 1.9 million undocumented immigrant women live in the states with abortion restrictions.
yeah.
Nearly 6.7 million Latinas, over a third of whom were born outside of the US, live in states that have or are likely to ban abortion.
Mhm.
So, roughly about 50,000 undocumented women of reproductive age live in the Rio Grande Valley.
Mhm.
And for those women, literally what you just shared, traveling through a checkpoint to reach care is a deportation risk.
Yeah, absolutely. So you go through a checkpoint, they ask you about your citizenship status. If you lie, you can get detained and deported. And also in Texas, we have a law that allows Texas state police and law officials to ask about your citizenship status if you're being stopped, like in the process of committing another crime, right? So, like, even if it's a traffic stop, like you were speeding, so you're committing a crime, right? Speeding, and then they stop you, they have the right to ask you about your citizenship status. So, they have that like enforcement mechanism also. So, like, not even just Border Patrol, like, you're talking about the county's sheriff, you know? So,
Frightening.
mhm,
So we're running out of time, but I mean, there's so many other things that are happening. And to go back to like, it's unfortunate. The fact that we have to talk about this, the fact that the Frontera Fund has to exist,
mhm.
what can people do? What is your call to action for listeners?
Definitely talk about abortion in your community and in your families and your friends and tell people why it's important and why you think it should be, you know, legal and available and how it's healthcare and why it's important to you, right? I think there's a lot of stigma, especially in the Latino community, about abortion. So, like, literally just saying the word abortion, right? Like aborto, like I learned that's the one Spanish word I know now.
Yay.
So, but yeah, talking about abortion, follow your local abortion fund. Abortion funds exist all over the country. There's abortion funds in California, that all over everywhere, right? So look at what your local abortion fund is doing and follow them, donate, volunteer, whatever you can. However you can participate, then do that. Even if it's just like sharing an Instagram story, right? So like just bringing it to people's like mind and attention, because honestly, and I always have to remind myself this because I'm in a little which is a weird thing to say, an abortion bubble, because this is my job and I talk about it and this is what I do for a living, right? But a lot of people don't even know that abortion's illegal in Texas.
I know.
Abortion is one of those things that if you're not a person of reproductive age and you are not dealing with whatever might bring you to having to make that decision, then you're not going to think about it ever, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So like it's like people don't think about abortion because until it happens to them or someone they know,
Doesn't affect you. Don't think about it.
then it doesn't affect you, right? So it's so yeah, like bringing it up, like be that annoying woke person that talks about abortion all the time. That's what I am in my family. So, but yeah.
Have you had to deal with someone who is so against abortion, and have you had like a true sound conversation of like helping understand why you think this way?
Um, Surprisingly, no. I've had people say stuff to my face, but it's never in a way that's like, "Oh, this is going to be a constructive,
Let's
fruitful
hear each other out.
conversation." Yeah, no, it's very much like just being in my face, right? But honestly, not really. Like I again grew up cradle Catholic, right? Not super practicing, but my family, my mother-in-law and like my in-laws are very Catholic. My parents pretty Catholic. They're so supportive of the work I do.
Mm.
Even though like even though the church is like super anti-abortion, like they are very supportive of the work I do. They donate, they come to my events, like
So religious people can understand.
oh yeah, there's like a whole group Catholics for choice, right? It's like
Catholics for choice.
yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of people who are very religious who also recognize that like abortion is part of the full spectrum of reproductive health care.
What would you say to the person that may be listen probably not, but that may be listening to to us and thinking like, I don't know, I've seen these debates on social media and it's just so obnoxious that I'm like, you're listening to like you're not listening, first of all.
Mhm.
They're just like responding. So what would you say to that person that's like, abortion is like they're very pro life?
Mhm.
What would you say to them that you wish they understood?
Um I would say one thing we say in the movement in general is that everyone loves someone who's had an abortion.
Mm.
Whether you know it or not, there's somebody, and like just statistically, there is somebody in your life who's had an abortion. And I think it's important to recognize that, like, people deserve to have the lives that they want, and nobody should be interfering in that. And people don't need these tragic stories to have an abortion. Like they don't need to be we hear a lot of tragic stories and they exist, right? But not wanting to be pregnant is enough. Not wanting to have children is enough, and we are not in control of anybody's lives, and people should be allowed to make these decisions for themselves.
Mm.
And we shouldn't be like involved in it at all. I would hate it if somebody told me like I've been pregnant, I've had a miscarriage, I've given birth, and I would never force that on anybody. Like ever if they didn't want it. Like I can't imagine anybody forcing that on me either. So, and like I said, I've experienced a lot of different types of pregnancy outcomes, right? But I that's made me even more pro-abortion than even before, because I know what it's like to be pregnant. I know what it's like to have a miscarriage. I know what it's like to give birth. I know what it's like to raise children. And again, I would never force that on anybody if they didn't want it.
What do you think is the actual root of removing bodily autonomy from women?
White supremacy and control. Yeah, a lot of white supremacy. A lot of these abortion bans are racist. Like, if you look at where they're happening, it's where there's a large population of like people of color,
Yes.
like in the South, right? So it's a lot of racism and white supremacy and control, and it's a very deep systemic issue.
So deep.
And it's very interesting, like the same people who are anti-trans, anti-immigrant, it's like it's a circle, like that intersection of the people who are anti-abortion, anti-LGBTQ, like they're the same people, and they're all trying to control our lives.
Mhm. And if we think about it, I don't know this actual number, but I think it's more of us than them. I would argue
I
that.
I hope so. It's one of those things where they're just very loud, you know?
And they have access and resources and
They do have a lot of resources, yes. Yeah. And they're very loud.
better power to the people.
I know.
We need to be louder.
I know. We need to be very loud. So, but and like I get it, abortion can be it's very stigmatizing and very like taboo in a lot of ways, but also it's just like, dude, it's just part of reproductive health, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we can just keep going, but we're out of time. Last few questions. Do you have a remedy you wanna share with us?
um I was trying to think about this answer, and honestly, my thing is just like touch grass and dirt, you know? Like
Like,
I
literally.
literally I we me and my family, like we redid my garden at my house, and so I literally have a lot of chances to go outside and like put my hands in the dirt and in the grass. Even though I'm
Mm.
so allergic to everything that's outside, I still make time to like literally go look at the trees and the bees and the flowers and stuff like that. I think that's so, just like put your phone down, just listen to birds sing, or like just go outside.
I love that. It's the most, like, back to basics thing we can do.
Yeah, and I think maybe that came up with me just growing up outside, like we said
Yeah.
earlier, but, yeah, it's something about, even though in the valley, it's so hot. It's really
I
hot to be outside,
know.
but when it's a nice day, I'm like, "Ooh, let's go outside," right? But yeah.
Yes, I have a client in San Antonio, and she gardens, and so sometimes she comes to her calls, like, like, red, and I'm like, "Are you g" and
Yes.
she's like, "I was outside, and it was so
Yes.
warm."
It's very hot. Mhm.
Yeah. So, there's a question that you share the answer that I think I'm gonna start asking this question actually now. Thank you for the
Okay.
inspiration.
Okay.
So, if you were to give your life to this date a movie title, what would it be?
Mhm. The No Salvo girl with redheads. I gave birth to 2 redheads, and it's the weirdest thing about me, I think, but,
And there's no other redheads in your family?
no, it's so weird, like, I always look at my children, I'm like, "I don't know how this happened, but here you are." My husband's family, like, ooh, generations ago, like, barely Italian, like, they immigrated from Italy to Mexico, and then they became Mexican, right? But and I was, like, 5 generations ago or 4 generations ago, so but I don't know, I have freckles, my husband's a little weddle, so
I mean, I have a friend, a good friend of mine that I went to high school with that she gave birth to 2 redheads as well.
yeah.
There's a lot of redheads in my fa like,
There are a lot of Mexican redheads, and so I gave birth to 2 of them. I'm just adding
so
to the
that's
redhead
where the
population.
redheads come in.
Yes, yes. So, but yeah, I always my parents and my sisters always make fun of me because I always lose things, and so they're like, your kids came out redhead, so you wouldn't lose." I was like, "That's probably true."
That's really funny.
Mhm.
That's really funny. I was gonna do a really, really bad pun joke. Because I was like, well, is it all the ginger tea that you be drinking that just,
Maybe, I
named
know.
ginger kids?
Yeah, my kids are really good about the ginger jokes, thankfully, so
Nice,
but
nice. And the last question is, what's the legacy that you're leaving behind?
I hope my kids and my family look at what I've done so far and they're like, "Oh, Tia did something or grandma did something or my mom did something while these things were happening," right? So
Mm,
I just I don't want to be asked like, "Well, what did you do?" and be like, "I didn't do anything," right? Like, "Oh no, I was doing something." So, I hope that's the type of legacy I get to leave behind to be like, at least she tried to do something.
you left
Mhm.
your granito de arena, like,
Somewhere, yeah, even if it's just like a little drip in the pond or drip like
yeah,
drop in the ocean, it's a drop. Mhm.
yeah, that counts. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming to Cafe con Pam.
Thank you, Pam. I love it. It was a really fun conversation.
Yeah, I hope it wasn't as hard as you thought.
No, it wasn't. It was a easy, fun conversation. I enjoyed it.
And thank you for the work that you do because
Oh,
it's
thank
so
you.
important
Yeah.
and
Yes.
necessary. Unfortunately, this is when I will say it's unfortunately necessary.
Yes. So I will say donate to your local abortion fund. Yeah.
Yes. Tell us all the places and spaces where we can find you. Sorry. That was
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
Frontera Fund, you can find us online at www.fronterafundrgv, as in Rio Grande Valley.org. That's also our Instagram and TikTok and Facebook handles. So Frontera Fund, RGV.
Nice. And definitely get involved, listeners, because there's always and even if it's you're like, abortion is not my thing, find a cause.
Literally,
There's so
there's
many.
causes happening near you. Like a lot of people try to take up the mantle and rebuild the will. I'm like, girl, somebody is doing it already. Go join them.
Go join them. Totally, totally. I recently saw a post by somebody I know, and they were advocating for parks. And I'm like, I love that.
Yeah,
Like they went to
yeah,
City Hall and they were like, we need to build more parks. We need to keep the parks that exist in our city.
hmm
And so I'm like, listen, there is a cause that will connect with you in some way.
yeah, absolutely. Like, there's so much in happening in communities like that people can get involved in. Even if it's like, oh, I want to. For me, the other cause I love is native plants. Like
Hmm.
putting more native plants in your area. Mhm.
Yeah, it's a big thing here in California because we're a desert. And so like
Exactly.
native plant gardens are a thing.
And then I think California also had the unfortunate outcome of being stripped for agriculture the way Texas did. So, like,
Mm,
the valley was completely stripped, like, almost bare of its natural
yes.
habitats for agriculture, and so now it's trying to put that back. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time
Thank
and for your
you.
work.
Thank you, Pam, and thank you for your time and work too.
Yay. Bueno, esa fue mi conversación con Zina. And she said her legacy, if she gets to leave one, is just that her kids and her grandkids can look back and say, she did something. Not something big, not something that changed everything, just something. Un granito de arena, a drop in the ocean. I think a lot of us are waiting to do the big thing, the thing that counts, the thing that's going to make it all make sense. Pero algo que Zina has been sharing or has been doing is she's been in one of the most legally exposed, politically hostile, emotionally brutal jobs in the country. And her ask of herself is simple. I don't want to be asked what I did and have nothing to say. That's it for her. Y think about it. You don't have to burn the house down to matter. You just have to go outside and touch grass sometimes. Literal, ¿no? Porque como nos contó Zina, put your hands in the dirt, come back to what's real, and get up and keep going. Keep going anyway. If this conversation stirred something in you, if you felt something listening to what it looks like to stay when staying is hard, I invite you to take my free quiz. It's a Calladita Culture quiz. It takes you 5 minutes. It will give you the language of the conditioning that taught you your voice was too much, your needs were too inconvenient, or your granito de arena wasn't enough. It's waiting for you at cafeconpam.com/quiz. Y eso es todo por hoy. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Nos vemos a la próxima. Y como siempre, sigue brillando. Café con Pam is created con mucho amor by our small but mighty team. Content production by Nancy Jaimes. Podcast management by Maru Linardi. Social media and marketing by Brenda Figueroa. And me, your host, Pam Covarrubias. To keep the cafecito brewing and the healing flowing, join the Supporters Club for only $5 a month and access early episodes, behind-the-scenes vibes, and exclusive minisodes you won't hear anywhere else. Screenshot this episode and tag me and share what resonated. I love seeing your takeaways. Follow on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let's keep the conversation going with us on social media at Café con Pan Podcast because your voice always matters there. We love being on Instagram and Facebook. Gracias for listening to Café con Pan, a Spread Ideas Move People production. For more episodes, guest info, or resources, visit cafeconpam.com. And if you're healing from calladita culture and don't know where to start, you can take the quiz. cafeconpam.com/quiz for Tia Wisdom and cariño just for you.
Sabrosura pa' ti que